Have you ever walked into an IKEA store and thought to yourself, this place looks pretty cool. I wish my place looked like this. Well, except for that thing over there. That's pretty weird. You may be a fan of the design style known as Scandi. What is Scandi? It's not scandalous. Actually, quite the opposite. It is the subject of today's episode of Style Series, where we talk about interior design styles. And we're gonna talk about this Scandinavian interior design style, what makes it so popular, and I'll also give you a couple of paint colors that sort of reflects the feel of it all to me. Now, I know I made that IKEA reference off the top, and that's because of the major retailers that exist, IKEA tends to feature a ton of Scandi-inspired pieces. I mean, duh, Sweden. But the thing to remember is IKEA also has a lot of stuff that I wouldn't necessarily consider Scandi, and that's because my definition of it is a little more purist and traditional in nature. When I think of Scandi, I think of clean, modern, minimal, yet still lived in and homey. With Scandi, you'll definitely see quite a bit of white or off-white as a nice base. That's why I got the white background today. You should also see a lot of natural looking textures and finishes that come from nature, like materials such as wood, wicker, wool, the 3 Ws, amongst many other possible options. You'll also notice that there's going to be a very homey, comfortable feeling that comes with it. And this is due to the fact that Scandi was born in the Scandinavian countries that wanted to maximize their lighting in their homes, both from natural light sources as well as artificial ones. But within this clean, light design style, people also wanted their homes to feel like a home. And this can sometimes be tricky when you're going really modern and minimal. A big bright white room with one ultra-modern square dark bench may look a bit artsy and interesting, I guess, but you wouldn't want to spend an afternoon in that room, let alone your entire life. So it's about finding that balance of clean, yet still comfortable. One of the ways this is accomplished in Scandi design is through decluttering. While the opposite can be true in something like boho or bohemian design, where you just load up a space with different colors, textures, and just envelop yourselves in all of it, Scandi design adds by removing components, where there's not as much of an emphasis of filling a space. You just utilize the right pieces in the right configuration to create your overall look. Scandi really lends itself to organization, which means instead of having, all your stuff thrown about, you can instead buy a really cute basket from Jysk or Jysk. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but I'm sure someone will correct me, so thanks again. One of the great advantages of committing to Scandi in your own personal home's design is it's surprisingly reasonable to put together. As long as you're starting with a pretty light base, like white, cream, or at least an off-white, and then you slowly start to build up your design by introducing those natural elements we talked about earlier, your woods, your wool, wicker, rattan, and also actual living natural things too, like plants. That's a pretty solid start to begin with. You may be tempted to add some other paint colors other than off-whites and neutrals. Maybe you've seen some really cool dark accents at IKEA that would really tickle your fancy. Well, again, in terms of Scandi specifically, I am a bit of a purist, and I've always viewed this design style with lighter colors in mind that tend to lean towards the warmer side. Not always, but mainly, so you can reflect all that cozy warm light back at you all over your space. Once you start implementing larger amounts of darker colors, you start to lose me a little bit because I feel you lose the essence of what the style is all about. Now, this doesn't mean that your Scandi-inspired home should be completely grayscale and devoid of any color. In fact, I think there's quite a bit of room for color, but just the more toned down, desaturated pops of color. A warm off-white like Benjamin Moore's Cotton Balls is a great choice that has just a touch of warmth to brighten everything up and is a little more of an interesting choice than a clean, stark, boring white. You could also move away from the creamy yellow-based colors with a color like hint of violet, which is a really soft lilac color that just has a nice pop of cool gray in it as well. So you really get a nice balance of warm and cool there. Really quite different, but still fits within that overall feeling. You can even go with something quite a bit darker than both of those, with something like Interlude, which has some gold, some beige, and some brown mixed together, but still a little bit toned down, so not too saturated with color. And I would only really use a small portion of that color in a design in the form of accents, like your furniture pieces, not necessarily as a wall color, I mean, you could do that, but again, that doesn't necessarily read Scandi to me. It could be a combination of Scandi mixed with another style, which is totally cool too. I really think an important part of Scandi that we haven't touched on really yet is contrast, but not necessarily in the way that you think. We are a paint channel after all. We talk all about painting and design. But when I think of Scandi and contrast, I think more of the textural contrast you can find with a fuzzy pillow and an otherwise clean and streamlined modern gray sofa, for example. You may be tempted to switch things up based on your personal tastes, and that's totally cool because your space should totally be personal to you. There are also different subcategories and variations of Scandi design that have become really popular. In fact, I'm actually a pretty big fan of Japandi, which incorporates Scandinavian and Japanese design fused together and utilizes some really interesting influences from both regions. I have a Japandi palette right over here, and comment below if you want me to release a Scandi palette for all of you, more than just the 3 paint colors we talked about in this video, because I love to put one together for you people.